Relations between Taiwan and its superpower neighbor China have been marked by icy silence punctuated by invasion threats ever since Taiwan underwent rapid economic and political development in the 1980s and 1990s. The longer-term threat cannot be ruled out, even though the majority of military analysts downplay the possibility of an impending invasion. The economists report that as Chinese military superiority increases, it's increasingly likely that Beijing will use force against Taiwan. Will China invade Taiwan? Is China's military strong enough to invade Taiwan? Make sure to stay tuned until the end to find out. Hey guys, welcome back to another exciting video. Today, in this video, we'll be discussing China's possible invasion of Taiwan and all the other tiny details. But before we head to our topic, make sure to subscribe to our channel, Economy Expert, for more such economy content. After Pelosi's brief visit to the island on Wednesday, China conducted its largest ever military drills 10 miles away, according to Al Jazeera. Beijing sent out more than 100 jets, including fighters and bombers, during its display of force on Thursday, according to a Chinese state news agency, Xinhua. 11 ballistic missiles and at least 10 warships and frigates were also reportedly involved. According to Al Jazeera, several airlines rerouted or cancelled flights on Friday because of China's continued military activities. The live-fire exercises were interpreted as a direct reaction to Pelosi's visit, which Sky News described as the most senior American lawmaker to visit the island in 25 years. China has threatened severe consequences if she went, despite the White House's opposition to the trip. According to Foreign Policy, the consequences of the visit will undoubtedly spread over the coming weeks, escalating tensions in the Strait and aggravating an already dismal US-China relationship. However, some observers are happy that the response was not stronger. None of the words used in condemning the visit, according to the magazine, indicates an immediate threat of invasion. The military thinks that's not a good idea, Biden had told reporters prior to the trip, but in Taiwan it was a reason for celebration. As she arrived, there was a full-on Pelosi love fest unfolding in Taiwan's capital, Taipei, according to BBC reporter Rupert Wingfield Hayes. According to him, large crowds gathered to see the US visitor. The military power of China. When a Chinese attack on Taiwan is not imminent, the top US general cautioned at the beginning of July that the US is nonetheless very closely looking for indicators that China is getting ready to conduct one. General Mark Milley, the head of the US Joint Chief of Military, told the BBC that although China was building a capability to attack Taiwan, the decision whether it would do so was still a political one. According to Milley, who is referring to China's People's Liberation Army President Xi Jinping, has said that he has pushed the PLA to build a capability to invade Taiwan at some moment in time. The decision will depend on how the Chinese see the cost, danger and reward at the time, he added. And whether they would or not, it's a political choice. It's a policy option, he said. The Independent reported that the declaration came amid growing fear in Taiwan over a possible Chinese invasion of the autonomous land, which led some residents to take firearms training. It also came after Foreign Secretary and potential prime ministerial candidate Liz Truss warned China that any efforts to invade Taiwan would be a catastrophic miscalculation during the G7 conference in Madrid. She went on to warn Beijing not to make the same mistake as Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to Bloomberg, the primary problem that risks one day escalating to conflict between the US and China is the dispute over Taiwan's sovereignty. There are increasing calls for a pledge to intervene if Beijing invades the island. Additionally, China's military pressures has steadily ramped up in recent years, with frequent warplane sorties over Taiwan and warnings to the US that the strait that separates the island from the province of Fujian is not an international waterway. The news source continued, citing Taiwan's increasing feeling of nationhood as well as the Chinese Communist Party's sweeping crackdown on dissent on Hong Kong as reasons for the drastic shift in the consensus in Taiwan opposing any form of integration with China in recent years. According to the BBC, experts have been warning for months that Beijing is growing more anxious that Taiwan's leadership is leading the island toward a formal declaration of independence. Taiwan is already an independent state and thus no official declaration is necessary, according to Tsai's administration. The Times' Asia editor Richard Lloyd Parry stated that if a war between the two occurred, the world would be forced to address the essential challenge of our day, which is finding out what, in effect, not bending to China means. The cost of standing up to Xi makes it unattractive for many nations to consider launching a full-scale military invasion and battle that may soon expand well beyond the island. The importance of standing up to authoritarianism is something that most of the globe can agree on, Lloyd Parry said, adding that Beijing's aggressive approach, persecution in Hong Kong, and genocidal treatment of the Uyghurs in Xinjiang also signified this. According to The Economist, a war would be a catastrophe if it were to break out. The bloodshed in Taiwan is the primary reason for this, but there is also a potential for escalation between two nuclear powers, namely the US and China. According to estimates from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, China spends nearly 25 times as much on its military as Taiwan, giving Beijing a significant military advantage. However, Taiwan and the US have a defense agreement that dates back to the Sino-American Mutual Defense Treaty of 1954, which means that the US may become involved in the battle. Beijing's hopeful version of events calls for cyber and electronic warfare teams to target Taiwan's banking system and crucial infrastructure, as well as American satellites to limit notice of oncoming ballistic missiles, Bloomberg reported. The news source added that airstrikes would swiftly try to assassinate Taiwan's senior political and military officers while also immobilizing local defenses, while Chinese boats might also harass ships around Taiwan, impeding essential supplies of gasoline and food. Then, warships and submarines would traverse the Taiwan Strait for about 130 kilometers, and thousands of paratroopers would materialize above Taiwan's beaches, attempting to breach defenses and seize critical structures. In the case of the Chinese invasion, Taiwan would be dependent on its natural defenses, its rocky coastline and choppy sea, with plans to throw 1,000 tanks at the beachhead and let brutal tank combat decide the outcome, according to Forbes. According to Bloomberg, the island's top military officials are also planning a multi-pronged defense against an invasion that uses aircraft, ships, and air defense systems to resist Chinese military assaults. Taiwan is believed to be keenly monitoring Ukraine's defense against a Russian invasion. The diplomat notes that the island's ability to follow Ukraine's civil defense template is questionable. In order to fend off Moscow's attack, Ukraine's territorial defense forces' effective deployment was essential. However, according to the Asia-Pacific magazine, doing something similar in Taiwan is not legally nor politically possible. Theresa May, a former Prime Minister, voiced her concern about the implications of the AUKUS agreement following the historic military pact signing last September between the US, UK and Australia. This fear would arise if China were to invade Taiwan. Many question Boris Johnson in the House of Commons on the implications of this deal for the stance that the United Kingdom would take in its reaction should China attempt to invade Taiwan. Johnson responded at the time by stating that the agreement is not intended to be antagonistic towards any other power, adding, "The UK remains determined to protect international law, and that's the strong advice we would give to our peers throughout the world, and that is the strong guidance that we'd give to the government in Beijing." The aim of AUKUS, according to ABC Global Affairs commentator Stan Grant, is to send a strong message to China that the US is not going to surrender control in the Indo-Pacific. By doubling down on the American alliance, Australia has abandoned the pretense of supporting both sides, according to the pact. All of these raise concerns about what the UK would do if Washington called on it to join its friends, including Australia, in resisting a Chinese invasion. The US and Japan also vowed to support Taiwan in July 2021. What are your thoughts on this news? Do you believe that China has the power to invade Taiwan? Let us know in the comment section. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like, share and subscribe to our channel Economy Expert for more such amazing content.